to our first time homebuyers webinar. So I'll start just introducing myself. So my name is Sam Thompson. I am a mortgage agent with the Verico Mega Mortgage here in Barrie. But again, we do serve all of Ontario. We're so happy that you could join us today. We're joined with RuthAnn Osborne, who is a real estate agent out of the Windsor area. It's so awesome to have you with us tonight, RuthAnn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm very excited for first-time home buyers. I mean, what an exciting time in your life.
That's right. So we have a lot of great information for you, regardless of where you are in the process. So just to give you a quick breakdown, so I'll be starting off just chatting through the mortgage process, what you can expect, things to do, things not to do. And then we're going to pass it over to RuthAnn, who will take you through a bit of the real estate, sort of the fun side, no paperwork, just looking at houses, all of those fun facts and figures. And then we're actually going to round off with a bit of questions. So if you're watching at any point in the either presentation, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comment section and we'll round off those at the end. But I will kick off and share my screen and we can get rolling on the exciting world of your first mortgage. So again, welcome to the first time homebuyers webinar. So I trust you guys can see that okay? Okay, so again, I'll cover the mortgage broker process, getting a mortgage, a lot of tips, some mistakes that we see, how to get some money back when you buy in the form of rebates, grants, incentives, and then I'll cover off the first-time home buyer incentive. So just a little bit about myself. So I am, as I was saying, working with Verico Mega Mortgages. We're based out of Barrie, Ontario, but again, we can serve all of Ontario. I've been in the industry for just over a year now, working with Joe Bladdock. We are licensed with all banks and lenders, and my specific role sort of on the team is to work with first-time home buyers. So before we jump in and get into too much of the meat of what I want to talk about, we'll just actually look at a case study. So this was Jennifer and Joseph. So they came to one of our seminars. Yes, we used to have seminars in person. It was amazing, but now we're working with Zoom. So they had $1,400 in the bank. They didn't know what their credit score, and their approximate household income was around $65,000. So when you're seeing these numbers, they may seem familiar. It might even be close to what you're working with as well. So what happened was just, months later after attending the seminar, they were able to move into a home with biweekly mortgage payments of just under $500, which is super manageable, especially in today's rental rates. So we really like to start off the presentation with this to really illustrate that regardless of where you are in the process, from already chatting with a mortgage professional to not knowing your credit score, not really even having a ton of savings, we can take you from point A to B through this webinar and the information you'll get with us. So looking at this, you're probably thinking, well, where did they start besides coming to the webinar to hear us talk? Well, they started by getting pre-approved. So it really actually is the best first step in your home buying process, because we can really help you speed up the process, avoid any disappointment, and it can end up saving you money just from getting pre-approved. I mean, there's nothing worse that we can think of going out with RuthAnn, looking at houses that are priced at $700,000 to realize that you only actually qualify for $500,000. Now you either have to backtrack or add a cosigner, try and sell something so that you can afford the home. We really want to give you an accurate number of where you qualify in today's market. So getting a pre-approval is super beneficial and is a great first step to making that home ownership dream possible. And another great benefit, especially amid all the rumors that rates are going to be rising, it actually also provides a rate guarantee for 90 to 120 days. So if the rates do rise, your rate is secured at your pre-approved rate. So this is just a look at some of the lenders that we work with. Again, just illustrating the fact that when working with a mortgage broker, we have access to quite a few different lenders. Some you might work with, some you might bank with, others you might not have heard of, but are funded by the big banks. And we can typically get quite a varied range of rates and mortgage options that fit your scenario. So how do you get approved? So again, it can be done completely virtually. In fact, now that COVID is a thing, they're basically all virtual. So typically it'll start with an email or a text message into the office, usually from watching one of our videos or being referred from another customer. But we can do the entire pre-approval process completely online, over the phone, or on FaceTimes or Zooms like we're doing right now. The only thing you really need to know for a pre-approval is to have your photo ID and pay stub, and have some numbers handy in terms of what your income is and maybe some assets and liabilities. And from there, we can look at what you would qualify for in today's market, and then work towards getting, some of the more required documents later on in the process when we're going for a full approval. So why would you use a mortgage broker when you already bank at CIBC around the corner? Why not just go and talk to them? Well, we actually have access to more products. So as you saw in the previous slides, there are over 100 lenders that we can possibly work with. So that actually gives you the most bang for your buck, and it actually gives you the most variety of what options are available to you. Another really important thing is that we do only one hard credit check, and that's valid across all of the lenders that we work with. So if we submit it with one lender, we can then also submit it with any other using that same credit check. Again, keeping your credit score preserved. I know if you go to get quoted for 6 different car insurances, each one is going to hit you, and that's actually going to hurt your credit score. So using us, we can just do a single hard credit check and use that across all of our lenders. We also know that buyers have a unique story, and that's also the benefit of working with a broker, is we actually get to build relationship and chat with the underwriters at each of the lenders. And we actually, in your application, can write in notes sort of justifying certain conditions of your mortgage application that some banks could overlook. Just to give a really quick testimonial for this, we actually had a client who came to our office and had some rough credit from a year or so ago. And what we were able to find out through just chatting with him is that at that time he was only seasonal temporary work, but since then he had secured full-time permanent staff. So we were able to write that into the notes to explain, some of the credit discrepancies. And what we found is that they were pre-approved, just a couple weeks later. Again, as I was saying, there are lots of mortgage options available, more than I'd care to go into because it is very case-to-case specific. But again, if it's a new build, a renovation, investment mortgage, short-term flip, whatever it is, we can really help you, set up where you want to be with your mortgage and point you in the right direction and set those steps for you. Another great thing is if you love coffee like myself, there was a study that was done showing that on an average, Canadian mortgage brokers save their clients $42 a month. So Joe and I have done the math, and that works out to be about the price of a small Timmy's coffee every weekday of the month. So we love to say that if you get a mortgage through us, we will buy you a small Tim Hortons coffee every weekday. If you love coffee and want a house, it's the perfect match. So now that we've sort of covered off, differences between banks and brokers, why to use a broker, I'll just go over some of the mistakes we see clients come in with. A lot, they really don't know they're making them, and they're actually really easy to change. So mistake number one is going to be ignoring your credit score. Not knowing what it is really puts you at a bit of a disadvantage, and not working towards building your credit score can also put you at a disadvantage. We don't want you to get stuck with a bad rate or, forced to go with a B lender because your score is under the minimum requirement. It's good to know where you're at and sort of just take almost a financial pulse of how your credit score is doing. It's very easy to get an idea from this now through sites like Credit Karma or even through a lot of mobile banking apps. I know CIBC gives you the option to do a soft credit check so that you can see where you're at and build your credit if you do find that it is low. Actually, there's a very good tip on this: is do not apply for new credit before you get the mortgage. This also includes up to the closing date. If you're thinking of getting a new car loan, but you're also thinking of purchasing a home, if it's possible to save the car loan, please save the car loan, because we've seen that only a couple $100s a month in car payments actually can really drastically affect your qualifying amount in the actual mortgage purchase price. If you have gone through a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal, there are some really important and crucial steps that you need to follow. So we call it the 2-2-2 rule, meaning that a lender is not going to give you a mortgage unless you have 2 credit cards for 2 years minimum with a limit of $2,000 on each. So this is actually really big. We've actually had a couple clients that have reached out to us who have had consumer proposals. It happens, but they, have paid it all off. But and it's been 3 years or so, but they only have 1 credit account active, and the banks really don't want to see that, and it becomes challenging because then you have to add a new credit card, wait a whole the rest of the time so that you're an eligible candidate. So if you haven't done that and you have a consumer proposal, that's a great first step. Just to give a bit of a quick breakdown of what goes into a credit score, because many people either don't know what it is, don't know what theirs is, or they don't even know what goes into calculating it. So we'll go over some quick tips of how to build your credit score. So looking at this breakdown in the chart here, you can see that the largest percentage of what goes into calculating your score is credit history. So this is important if you have any old credit accounts, maybe from high school or college that you haven't gotten rid of yet. Actually, it's more beneficial to keep that account as long as it's in good standing, because the minute you close that account, you actually lose all of the credit history that is attached to that credit account. You can also see the second biggest is going to be debt owed. So how we like to illustrate this is just by asking the question, would it be better to have $900 balance on a $1,000 credit card or a $900 balance on a $10,000 credit card? You might think that the balance owing is the same, so it should work out to pretty even, but actually it's a lot better to have a $900 balance on a $10,000 credit card, because that's communicating to the lender you're using well below 50% of your credit limit. So we like to say that if you can manage it and your bank offers you a credit limit increase, you can accept and thank them for helping to build your credit score faster than you were initially planning on it. Mistake number 2 is not reviewing your options. Essentially, all of these get eliminated when working with a mortgage broker or a mortgage agent, because there are many different ways to pay, many different lenders, and different rates to look out for. So we like to illustrate as well. This is a bit of an old slide because we're not really seeing any A lender rates anywhere near 2.8 to 2.9. But is there a difference between 2.84% or 2.99? It doesn't really look like much on paper, but that actually saves you over the life of your mortgage, just shy of $10,000. So that's your money that is actually going into interest. So the lower the rate you can get, it may not look like much when you're doing the signing and on your first few mortgage payments, but over the lifetime of your mortgage, it's going to yield the biggest saving if you can get a lower rate. As I was saying before, there are a lot of different banks that we can use. Banks that have different mortgages available, say business for self. If you have bruised credit, there's a lot of different options that are available to you, and they often work case to case. So sometimes we have clients come in that only bank at TD, they only want to bank at TD, they want a mortgage through TD, but we can actually get a better one from a different lender. So keeping an open mind for that is going to be really helpful in your process. Monthly versus biweekly is also an often, a pretty common question of which one is going to be better. So if you can stand up to the frequency of the payments, a biweekly payment is going to be better than monthly, as illustrated by the chart here. You can see the blue graph is going to be on a traditional monthly basis, and the yellow graph is the biweekly mortgage payment. So you see that you're actually paying less in interest over the life of the mortgage, and you can actually pay it off faster by doing it in a biweekly fashion. Penalty calculations have become quite huge, and if you've seen any of the scary articles that I have seen where some TD clients are breaking their mortgage and owing upwards of $20,000 to $25,000. That's ridiculous. So something that we like to consider as well is what the penalty calculation is going to be, because we know life happens and sometimes the only or the best solution is going to be breaking your mortgage, especially in today's day where rates are low. If you already have a mortgage and you're watching this, you'll understand that breaking the mortgage to get a lower rate sometimes makes sense. But we want to make sure that the mortgage that we get you set up with has a low penalty calculation so that you're not stuck with a $20,000 payment just from breaking your mortgage. Borrowing too much. So the term house poor gets thrown around a lot. And we really do want to encourage that when we're going through the process to not overreach and borrow more than your means. We want you to be able to, extend your Netflix subscription, keep the DoorDash orders coming. We want you to be able to live in the home that you purchase. So borrowing too much is also a mistake that we have seen before. I mentioned it before, but again, if you're getting a car loan, it is actually best to wait until after. If you have one, it is okay. But yes, we've seen quite a translation between $300 to $400 a month in car loan payments, resulting in actually quite heavy decrease from your maximum buying potential. It does take a hit just having that payment of as little as $300 to $400 a month. Forgetting about closing costs. This is often the sneaky tagline that hits you, midway through the mortgage process. You're not thinking about it at all, and it's something that gets paid directly out of pocket. So when we had our seminars in person, we had a lovely little laminated folder that we would hand out with a breakdown of all of these. But we're actually going to be sending them via email. So if you would like one, feel free to give us a comment, and we can make sure that you get a breakdown of the closing costs worksheet. Mistake number 5 is simple enough, not getting pre-approved, because with the pre-approval comes a conversation with Joe or myself, where we can look at your scenario and put all the steps in motion to get the mortgage that's going to suit you best. Setting up your home buying team. So this is very important. And this is also why we love to partner with real estate agents in these webinars, such as RuthAnn, because it is so important to set up your home buying agent. You never want to rely on the list agent because they're not going to have your interest as their number one priority. By working with a buyer's team, such as a mortgage agent, a real estate buyer's agent, home inspector, your own real estate lawyer, everyone's going to be working in your best interest. So it might seem like a lot or, even more work, but it's really not, and it's worth it tenfold when you're actually going through the process. Case study number 2, just to look quickly at a secondary set of clients that came through. So they had purchased a home in Tavistock, Ontario for $329,000. They were able to put a down payment of $16,450 down and had biweekly mortgage payments of $696. So just after 5 years, the market value had increased to $319,000. They actually were able to refinance and take out more mortgage, but they could sell the home at that point and take $140,000 in equity to their next home in just 5 years. Especially with today's market and the rate that houses are selling at, the number is much more of an appreciation than 140,000 in 5 years. But definitely, this is just to illustrate that real estate is always going to be a good investment. The best time to buy was 5 years ago. The second best time is today. It's really having basically a third income that you get to live in and will shelter you when it comes time to sell. Anyways, let's get to the very best part, which is going to be how to receive first-time home buyer rebates, incentives, credits, refunds. There's lovely big baskets full of Canadian money. Looks like old bills, but this is the best part of the presentation. So if you're writing it down, grab your pens. So the first one I want to chat with you guys quickly about is you're entitled to a refund of about $1,000 if you buy an energy efficient home. So first-time buyers are entitled to receive a refund of 10% of their CMHC insurance premium if you choose an energy efficient home, or if you're able to make your home, I believe it's 5% more energy efficient. So to give an example, on a $425,000 home, that refund works out to be about $1,100. Next is the Ontario Land Transfer Tax rebate. It is approximately $4,000 if you're buying in Ontario. If you're buying in Toronto, because there is also a Toronto land transfer tax, they will tack on an additional $3,700, giving you a full rebate of $7,725,000 if you are a first-time home buyer. So again, using the same illustrated example of 425, buying in Toronto is a refund of approximately $7,700. Canada Benefit is a really cool program that exists. If you find yourself a new to Canada permanent resident within the last 5 years. So understanding that it does take time to build credit, to find employment, they actually, some programs have reduced the employment requirements to just 3 months from the traditional 3 years. And there's actually no credit score required. So they will just look at bank statements as well as things as phone bills, that sort of thing. If you find that, yes, that your credit score is maybe a bit lower than the qualifying amount, it's great to take advantage of this program. If you are looking at buying from a new build home or building a home yourself, there is an HST rebate that is available to you as a first-time home buyer. So for example, as you'll be charged HST tax if it's a new build, on a new build of $425,000, the rebate works out to be about $33,150. Tax credit that's available. This is very fitting as it is currently tax season. So if you are a first-time home buyer, on your income tax form, there is a line where you can fill up and claim a tax credit of $5,000 for purchasing a home in the previous tax year. So if a family has an income of roughly $85,000, that works out to be just over $2,000 back in your pocket. There are also some lenders that will offer you a 1-year free home warranty if you are a first-time home buyer. So this covers air conditioning, electrical, water, heat, and plumbing. Up to $10,000 are covered and no inspection is required. So if you're interested in this, it's definitely something that we can discuss in one of our pre-approvals or pre-qualification calls through some of our lenders. If you're finding it hard to come up with a down payment, but you have a ton of money sitting in an RRSP, the Government of Canada has introduced the Home Buyers Plan, which allows each individual to claim up to $35,000, sorry, not claim, withdraw $35,000 from their RRSP completely tax-free, or $70,000 total per couple. So this saves you the tax that you would normally spend withdrawing from your RRSP in the form of a loan. So it will save you an additional $21,000 roughly in tax. So this we actually do see quite often. It's quite a common way to access funds if you have them in an RRSP. And even if it's something on a basis where there is contributions being made by your employer, we can also use that as well. We're just processed a file where a client was putting 6% of their paycheck into the RRSP and their company was matching the 6%. They were still able to withdraw the full $35,000 from their RRSP through the home buyer plan. So to be eligible for this, you only need to be a first-time home buyer, someone with a disability. If you're purchasing the home for someone with a disability, or if you haven't owned any property in the last 4 full calendar years, you would be eligible for that product. So if you didn't get those all, don't worry. You can, rewind the video and go back and check out all of those. The biggest thing I want to say before we move on is that all of those are available to first-time home buyers. None of them are special because you're working with our office. So really, our job and what we like to do is really just be able to educate you on how to get the most savings during the process and how to point you in the direction of getting the product that's right for you while getting the most cash back that you can. So now we will talk quickly about the down payment how to get one if you don't already have one, some incentives that are available to help out in this area. So all of the municipalities listed, including Lambton, Sarnia area, they all have a variation of the same down payment assistance program. So all of these are municipally funded. They do have their own, specific guidelines that you have to stick with, but most of them will give anywhere from 5 to 10% as a down payment to you if you are a first-time home buyer. And the beauty of a lot of these is that they're completely forgivable. So if you live in that home for 20 years, the loan actually doesn't need to be repaid. So this is a great way to help increase your down payment by taking advantage of this program. There is typically a wait period for this incentive. So you do have to sign up as it is, there's an allotted amount of funds. So you may have to be on a wait list to be able to access those funds and receive the grant. But it's a great program, especially if you're looking for a forever home or a home that you're likely going to be living in for 20 years, as it's completely forgivable. Other ways of accessing a down payment could be through rent-to-own programs. Any gifted money from family, we can use that as well. Gifted equity from the seller, any cashback mortgages. So unfortunately, the cashback comes out just before closing. So we can't use those funds as a down payment, but we can use those funds to help cover off things like closing costs, freeing up some of your money, extra of your money, to put towards the down payment. So just to recap on all of the rebates, incentives, savings, everything that we've chatted about, it totals up to almost $52,000 in savings that are available to you as a first-time home buyer. So our job in the process is to make sure that you're as educated as you can be for what you were entitled to as a first-time home buyer. We don't want to just process your file, kick you on the way out and just kind of, now you're in your home, you're not our problem. We want to make sure that you're getting everything that's available to you and making sure that you're the most informed that you can be in this process. So we will now cover off the first-time buyer incentive. This is very exciting, and I'm really happy to be able to share this with you guys. So what is the first-time home buyer incentive? So essentially, it's a shared equity loan through the government of Canada, where they will add an additional 5 to 10% on top of the existing 5% down that you have to qualify for this incentive. So what that does is it increases your down payment without incurring any extra monthly payments. It actually saves you monthly in the mortgage payments that you'll be making as your down payment is higher than it was before. So again, it's offered at 5% if it's a resale home, or 5 or 10% if you're buying a new build home. So just to get a quick breakdown of what it looks like using the incentive versus not using the incentive. So you'll see the buyer's income is the exact same. The home price they're looking for is the same, and they both have the minimum 5% down. The only difference is now the first-time buyer on the right column has the additional 5% down through the incentive. So you'll see sort of a trickle-down effect that it actually saves you money on the insured mortgage, which lowers the insurance premium you're paying, which lowers the monthly mortgage payment amount. And the difference in yearly costs just from utilizing this incentive is close to $1,500. So that's money that just goes directly back into your pocket. That can be saved. It can be spent on a hot tub. It gets pretty cold in Canada in the winter. That's completely your money to do with what you want. So the properties that are eligible, it's quite an extensive list. I know any new construction, resale homes, duplex, triplex, fourplex. What we like to say is that, if RuthAnn can find you the home, it's likely going to qualify for the first-time home buyer incentive. Just to go over quickly some of the qualifications for this incentive, you do have to be a resident of Canada. You can qualify while just being like on a work visa, but you actually can't get a mortgage in Canada without being a permanent resident. So borrowers must also have a maximum household income of $120,000. And as well, the loan amount is actually capped off at 4 times whatever your household income is. So that means the actual mortgage loan itself can't exceed that 4 times figure. So just to give an example, if you had a household income of $100,000, your mortgage could not exceed $400,000 in order for you to qualify for this incentive. And of course, at least one of you must be a first-time home buyer. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that I didn't go too fast or, waterboard you with facts and figures. But really what we want you to just remember from this presentation is to get pre-approved. If you'd like to call or text our office, please view the numbers on the screen or visit us at facebook.com/bemortgagefree. Thank you guys so much for listening to my portion, and we will kick it over to RuthAnn for the fun side of all the actual housing figures and things that the exciting bit. So over to you, RuthAnn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. And it's true, I get the exciting side and I love what I do. I mean, I love people, I love meeting new people, but when you're a first-time home buyer, you are some of the most excited people out there. You're also some of the most high anxiety people out there, and that's okay, because I was a first-time home buyer once, and believe me, the anxiety was like through the roof. So what I'm hoping to do here today is just give you some ideas and walk you through the process of what some of the best things to do to be able to get the house, get it in the right time, get the house that you want, and be able to make it a low anxiety for you as possible. And that's really exciting that I get to be here, and I'm just so excited. Thank you, Sam and Joe and Mega Mortgage. Thank you for having me. Want to apologize. I had a PowerPoint and everything, but now I don't have internet for whatever reason. So I have run down to my local Tim Hortons, and on Saturday, we are going to be having another webinar for you first-time home buyers. So if you want to tune in then, or if you have a friend that wants to tune in, I will have all of my PowerPoints and everything for you. And I'm looking forward to that as well. So first of all, where do we start? Where do we start? I highly recommend that the first thing that you do is call Mega Mortgaging and see where you stand financially. There are so many things. I really believe that first, there are more people out there that can be first-time home buyers than they think that they are. We have people here in Windsor, I mean, they're paying like $2,200 a month for renting a home, or $1,700 or $1,800. Listen, I don't pay that much on my mortgage. Most people don't pay that much on their mortgage. If you are paying like $1,500 in rent every month, call Make a Mortgage and talk to them. As a first-time home buyer, there's just so many things that you can do out there, and you're going to be gaining equity, and you're going to be just building a life for yourself. I think when I was first looking for a home, my biggest thing was, I need to buy a house, because once I pay off that house, I can retire. And that's always been my thought, I'm going to pay off my house and then I can retire, because all I'm going to have to do is pay my bills, that kind of thing. So, I mean, back when I was looking at houses, I'll tell you about my first home buying experience. Okay. So I do get a lot of first-time home buyers, and I talk to them, and they say, I'm like, have you talked to your grandparents or, your parents? Like, is anybody else involved with you with this? And they go, no, I don't want to I don't want to talk to my parents. I want to do this on my own, Oh, I get it. I was totally there. 100% I was there. I didn't even tell anybody that I was going to look for houses or anything like that. And my pre-approval was like 100,000 at the time. Okay. It was like peanuts. So I'm like, I've got these closing costs. I got all this other stuff that's going on. And I wanted to buy an income property, because I thought, you know what, I can live in the front of this or the back of this or the side of this, and then I can rent it out, and somebody else is going to pay my mortgage for me. Like, this will be great. And I thought, this is a really great idea. But I didn't want to spend more than like 60, 70, 80,000. So I called up this mortgage. I went online, and, I found a house that was in my price range. So I called up the real estate agent, who was really nice and took me out to some homes in my price range. The third house we looked at, we went upstairs, and there was actually, when we were coming in, we kind of went around the perimeter first, and the back door was open. And the agent says, I'm going to have to call the listing agent and let them know that this back door is open. It looks like it's been broken. We go into the house, we look at the house, we go upstairs. There's a guy sleeping in the house upstairs. All right, I kid you not. He saw us and he went, "Oh, sorry, I'll just get my stuff and I'll go." Like he was living there and owned it or something like that. Like, sorry, I didn't know there was a showing. Like, and he left. And I thought, you know what? I need to boost my budget a little bit. And so it was a really hard conversation. And I talked to my dad, and my dad said to me something that I didn't know. He said, "RuthAnn, I have always wanted to get an income property. This is something that I have always wanted to do, but we've always been really scared to do this because we would like to put somebody that we know in." And I thought, are you kidding me right now? So we ended up going together, and obviously my parents had way better rates and like everything than I did. And we got a really, really great house and a duplex. And you know what? It was great. It was a great experience. I have to say, I learned a lot about being a landlord. I learned a lot about home ownership, and I learned a lot about people. So don't be afraid to talk to your family. Your family loves you and your family supports you, and they really want to be there for you. And I bet you, if you ask your parents, they will tell you that your grandma and grandpa probably helped them out with a down payment or probably helped them out with something. And they were more than happy to do it. So I get how it is as a first-time home buyer. You're excited and you're also scared. So I want to take you through some of the things of where you start. What do you start by doing? Okay. And one of the first things that you need to do is you need to have face-to-face contact with an agent. Okay. I know that it's been really hard to do that lately, but we have things like Zoom. Zoom is awesome. Get connected on Zoom with an agent. Talk to somebody face-to-face so that you can see their body language and how they're talking to you and things like that, because you're working with somebody and you're creating a relationship with that person who is going to help you make the biggest financial decision of your life. Okay. And this is really, really important. You need to connect with the right agent. All right. So I get phone calls all the time from people, any kind of buyer, first time home buyer or not. And they say, I would like to look at this property, blah, blah, blah. And, I've been putting in offers and I'm not getting anywhere. And I say, "Oh, you have an agent?" And they go, "No, I don't use an agent. I call the seller agent. That's who I call." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, a seller agent." This is really important. Okay. I am so glad to have this opportunity to talk to you about two different kinds of agency agreements. Okay. So you have a listing agency agreement, and then you have a buyer agency agreement. Okay. And the thing is so your listing agent, they have a legal obligation to the priorities of that house, the people who own that house, to the sellers of it. That is their number one priority. And if they are if they're the ones that are putting in your offer, there's only so much information that they can tell you, because legally they can't tell you everything. Okay. So they can do things like they can arrange for you to go see the property. They can help you to obtain financing. They can recommend a mortgage agent if you don't have one yet. They can provide you details on the property, and they can explain the forms and the agreements, which they're going to walk you through when they do your offer. Okay. But again, there's only so many things that they can tell you. Now, when you get a buyer agent, okay, so that's the agent that is not selling the house. All right. So when I list a house, I'm the selling agent, right? I have to be 100% for my homeowner. That is my job. But when I'm the buyer's agent, I'm 100% for my buyer. And that is really, really important, okay? Because I can do all the things that the listing agent can do, but I can also do other things. Like I provide confidential assistance to you guys. Like that's really important. Everything is confidential. So if you want to buy a house and you call the seller agent, okay, and you say, well, listen, like I could go up to 400,000, but I really only want to pay 325. Okay. That seller agent now knows what your budget is. Okay. They know that. And they're like, okay, ooh, this person could pay that much. You know what I mean? Like me as your buyer agent, that wouldn't be something that I wouldn't call them and be like, listen, it's 400,000. Like they can get approved for that. That's not what I do. It's confidentiality. Okay. We also can put in the right clauses for you, such as home inspections. We want to protect you fully. Okay. That's really important that you guys are protected. And I'm going to structure and I'm going to negotiate an offer that's in your best interest. Okay. If you are somebody who maybe a house has a major foundation issue, okay, it's got a major foundation issue, and maybe it's something that you wouldn't even really know about, unless you saw this kind of thing all the time. Okay, if your seller agent is bringing you through the house, that seller agent is not going to be like, you see that right there? That is probably a huge foundation issue, and you're going to want an inspection on this home. Okay, no, they're going to be like, what a beautifully large basement, and it's finished. Okay, that's the difference. There's so many other differences, but when it comes down to it, working with the selling agent of the home, if you are the buyer, is kind of like going to court and having the same lawyer as the other side. That's what it is. So it's very important. Please, if you take anything from this, I am asking you to do the best thing for yourself, and do not use the selling agent. Use a buyer agent. Where I work at Team Gorin, I'm with a whole team, and there's different kinds of brokerages. Some that are brokerages and there's single people, and then other people, like where I'm at, it's a team. So if there's a listing that's up and you call my team, they're not necessarily going to say it's my listing. They're gonna give you to the first person that can get you in there, right? And that person is going to be 100% for you. Everything they do is going to be for you. Okay. So that's something to definitely take a look at. All right. One of the other things is, so you need to find the right agent. All right. Once you find that right agent, you need to be educated by that agent. Okay, so the agent that you're going to be meeting with, there's different ways. Okay, and I know you look at the house online and you're like, I want to buy that house. I need to go look at it and I'm going to buy it, right? You need to find an agent. You need to meet that agent face to face, whether it's over Zoom or not, and you need to let them educate you. And you need to ask them, you need to expect your agent to educate you. Okay, if your agent that you call is like, yeah, I got some time, I guess we can run through it real quick, find another agent. Okay, no, what you want to do is you want an agent that cares, because like I said, this is the biggest investment of your life. Okay, pay off your mortgage, you can retire. Big investment. So you're going to want them to go through what's going on in the market with you, especially right now where this market is so fast paced. Okay, you don't have time to be looking up everything online on all these different websites and then get a hold of an agent. Oh, it's gone already. Like I have people who call me up and they've got a list of 10 houses, and it breaks my heart because I get back to them and it's like they're all sold already, and it's sad. But if you have an agent and you are making that face-to-face contact and they are finding out what it is that you're looking for, where you're at in the mortgage process, what you're approved for, they're able to get you those houses as soon as they come on the market, or sometimes even before they come on the market. And that is really important, because just calling up a number and going out with any agent, they don't know about you. There needs to be a connection there for your own benefit, and so that we can properly help. So make that connection. The other thing too is I hear a lot of times from sellers, and especially first-time home sellers, is I don't think this person took me seriously. I don't think that they care. I never called them again. Okay. I'm going to say this, and I don't know what the best way to say this is, but I know that signing a contract can be a very scary thing. Okay. But signing a contract like a buyer representation contract is anybody knows, so that everybody knows where they stand with everybody. Okay. And when you have somebody who, when you sign a contract, there is a client, you can either be my client or you can be my customer. Okay. If you are my client, I have a lot of obligations to you. I have more obligations than I do just for my customer. Okay. So you want that from your agent, is you want your agent to know that, you know, I am your buyer. You are responsible for me. You have to do your job. You have to find this house for me. And we got to sign that contract. Otherwise, your real estate agent is like, I don't know if they're going to go somewhere else. I don't know what they want. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And that's what happens there. Now, with the contract, where I'm at, we have a 48-hour clause in there. If you don't like me, 48 hours, peace out. Okay? Because in the end of the day, it's about you finding the right home. Okay? And I need to be doing my job. I need to be doing my job for you. And you should be able to get out of that if I'm not doing my job for you. And you can ask people that when you sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with an agent, ask them about the contract and tell them, if this isn't working out, I would like out of it at 48 hours. There should be no agent that has an issue with that, because every agent should be working so hard for you that you would never need to be out of that contract. Okay. So I think that that is really, really important. The other thing that I think is extremely important is market experience and education. Okay. You don't know what's out there until you experience it. And in this market right now, things are crazy, things are moving quickly. And you really need to go out there. So if you look at a house, it's $250. In our market today, we know that it's not selling for $250. Okay. It's just not. But you want to get out there and you want to see what that house looks like. And then you want to see what that house sells for. Okay. So let your agent, so you're going to meet an agent, you're going to talk to them face to face. Okay. You're going to sign that contract so you know what everybody's boundaries are. And then let that agent take you out to see 4 houses or so of their choice and like 2 houses of yours. Because the agent's going to know, okay, they're looking at 250. This is the kind of house that they can get into, you know, and you're going to be picking houses that are 250, but they're actually 350 houses. Okay. And that is going to give you market experience. You can't just go out there and be like, this is what I want and done. You know, this is so, so helpful. And it's really going to help you. I feel so bad because people get so discouraged, you know, especially new home buyers. They go out there and they put in an offer and they're like, it was an awesome offer, you know, and they get blown out of the water. And, you know, as the agent, you're like, well, I mean, I told you it was probably going to go for 120 over, right? But you don't, why would you believe me if you haven't experienced it, right? So your agent needs to give you that experience of educating you about the market and experiencing the market. I feel that that's extremely beneficial. And then after that, your agent needs to be able to teach you and help you to make an educated offer. Okay. So in our market right now, there's a lot of different ways to put in an offer. Okay. Depending on what it's been listed at. Okay. So you can't put in an educated offer if you don't know what you're approved for. All right. If you have no idea where you stand financially, then you have no way of making an educated offer. All right. So you need to get yourself a mortgage approval so that you know where you stand. So once your agent, and then you need to give that approval to your agent. Please send it to your agent. Okay. Don't say, oh, I'm pre-approved for this. Okay. That's great. I would like it to see it on paper just so that we can make this. I don't want you to miss out on that house. You know, that beautiful house. We've gone every single weekend. We've seen 15 houses Saturday and Sunday for the last like 4 weeks, you know, and you finally found the perfect house. I don't want you to miss out on it because you don't actually have enough for that pre-approval. Okay. So you need that, please. So once we do that, we find out what your pre-approval is, where you stand with that. The other thing that your agent's going to do, and this is something that your seller agent isn't going to do for you, is I know how many offers are sitting on a house. Okay. So when there's an offer going in, I'm going to call them. Hey, how's it going? So what's going on with this house? Is there anything you can tell me about this house? Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to find out all this information for you. And how many people are going to put in an offer? You know, how many people have looked at this house? And I'm going to get updates every single time about when an offer goes in. So I can say to you, okay, listen, there's 15 offers in on this house, or there's 20 offers in on this house. Okay. If there's 20 offers in on a house, that offer that we write is going to look a lot different than if there's only 2 offers in on that house. Okay. And again, we can't do that unless you have that pre-approval. And I know how much of a down payment that you have. And going through offers and stuff like that, and the little things that we can do with it, that might have to be for another time, I think. Because there's a whole lot of other options out there. But with a buyer agent, your buyer agent is going to educate you on those different offers and those different things that you can put in an offer or not put in an offer. Things that you are comfortable with, things that are going to benefit you, because this offer needs to benefit you, not the seller, you. But a seller's agent isn't able to do that because they are for the seller. Whatever they're going to put in that offer is going to benefit their seller, because that is their legal obligation and that is their job. So it's exciting out there. I'm so excited for you to buy your first house, and like, it doesn't need to be high stress or anything like that. But like I said, you know, get yourself started, find yourself a good agent, have that face-to-face contact. You need to have that mortgage approval, get that mortgage experience or the market experience, and let your agent educate you on how to make the proper educated offer to get that home.
Awesome. That was a lot of really good information. Yeah, I mean, I think having a personal, you know, approach to it, and actually communicating with a buyer's agent, with everybody that's going to be sort of backing you and in your corner, is the best advice that we can give from today's video. So I don't know if we have any comments at the moment of any questions, but first of all, RuthAnn, how can anyone contact you if they're watching this video and would like to get in touch with you to start viewing houses, or to send you their pre-approval? How can they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to contact me. I am available and I would love to meet you. I work at Team Gorin in Windsor, so I am right off EC Row, just about in Tecumseh there. And, you know, if you call and you don't get me, anybody on my team is just phenomenal. Everybody is just awesome. So the number there, if you want to call the office, is 519-979-9949. Lots of nines. And if you want to contact me, it's 226-783-3711. The other thing that you can do is I have a Facebook page. It's RuthAnn Osborne. You can type in RuthAnn.ca. It should take you there, and you can contact me that way. Send me a text, whatever works for you. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, yeah, as we don't have any questions at the moment, I guess we can just wrap up, and thank you everybody for coming out tonight and tuning into our video. Hopefully it was informative, and you know your first steps, and you have now been connected with a real estate agent, as well as a mortgage agent. And yeah, definitely feel free to write a comment. If you have any questions, we can circle back with it. As RuthAnn was saying, we are also doing a webinar this Saturday morning at 9. So if you find yourself awake that early, or can find yourself awake that early, we'd love you to join us then as well. And bring any questions. We will again open it up to question and answer at the end of that video. But in terms of tonight, thank you all for coming out and for tuning into our video.
Have a good night.